Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Tanner, the Mind Hacker, and I am so grateful here to have Nathan Francis here on the line. Always love coming, having you on the podcast, and we just, you know, talk about whatever comes to mind. Today, I am really excited to be talking about this because it was actually the very first thing I started looking to that got me down this path where I was getting more awakened and becoming more aware of the lies that we're being told. And we're going to be talking about the ancient pyramids, Egypt, aliens, all of that kind of stuff. So super excited to go into that kind of woo woo, like extraterrestrial kind of stuff. And Nathan has some good stories to tell you guys about that as well. So really glad to have you on, Nathan. How you feeling about talking about our subject today?
I'm looking forward to it. I sort of messaged you about it today. I'll just let
Yeah.
the listeners and viewers know how this came about. I sort of interviewed a psychic medium on my podcast recently. We'll put a links out in the bottom for those that are interested. And we started talking about ancient Egypt and stuff. And I sort of shared a story that, which I'll share again later about it all. And I thought, well, why can't Tanner and I delve into it? Because I remember you telling me a couple of years ago now when we first met that was how you sort of started your journey. So it's like, well, maybe it's time for us to delve into the topic of how powerful these pyramids really are and what we were told as kids was not necessarily true about how powerful these energetic portals are, bro. So I'm looking forward to talking all things woo-woo today, mate. It's sort of a
Mm.
side to my story that I've only shared a couple of times. So I'm looking forward to delving into it more today with you. So how are you going and looking forward? Oh yeah, how are you going, bro?
Yeah, man. I'm doing great. Beautiful weather today. Happy about that. And just really happy to be on the podcast. Always grateful to be speaking with you, Nathan.
Yeah. So Tanner, well, let's take you back, eh? So what
Yeah.
sort of how did all this come about for you? So how did you just read a book? Did you see
Well,
something on YouTube maybe? How did it all start for you?
I'll preface it with where I got to the point where I started even looking into like aliens or Egypt or even just like the pyramids was I actually had hit my rock bottom. Um,
Yep.
Before I hit my rock bottom, I was getting high every day, drunk every day. I was, just kind of wasting my life away playing 24/7 video games, partying, all that. And I was in credit card debt, and me and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we couldn't pay the bills anymore. And so we were still living in the town that I went to like college at. And I remember having to like call my mom and say, "Hey mom, can we move back in with you?" And she, of course, like, "Oh, honey, yeah, that's of course, that's okay. You come back, you always feel free." So I was lucky to have, my parents who offered that to us. But it never felt good that we had to move back in with my parents, because, what I feel like I always envisioned myself like once I moved out, I'm not going back in, kind of thing.
Mm.
And it was kind of embarrassing having to move back in because I was in debt and move back in like one room with my girlfriend at the time, and we were like packed into still a tiny room. And needless to say, I didn't have a job when we moved back in. And so I just had a lot of free time. I had a lot of free time, so I just started looking around on YouTube. And I've always been interested in like aliens and stuff like that. I always believed there was extra like life out there that we weren't being told about, and there's information that we weren't being told about. So I started looking into aliens. And of course, if you start looking into aliens and actually like look deep into it, you'll find there's a lot of information around like ancient cultures, the pyramids, like scriptures and drawings and like carvings on walls, like depicting that like, hey, there was like ancient technologies before like we even knew about them. There was ancient like our ancient civilizations knew that information, right? And so
Mm.
it was really interesting to look down that route. And as I looked more and more into it, I started to realize that hey, like everything we've been taught about the pyramids is almost completely false. Like there's no way they built these things during a flood. A bunch of farmers
Mm.
who were like, "Oh yeah, let's just go build the pyramid." And even if they had like however many slaves they had, like moving 250 like ton rocks, like giant rocks that like we could barely even move today. None of it made any sense, right? Once I started actually looking into it, like their explanations for things is like, okay, they're lying about something. And that kind of opened me up to the fact that, hey, if they're lying about this, they're probably lying about other things. And I started looking into food. I started looking into all that stuff. So I'm really grateful I went down that route to like realize that, hey, they were lying to me. Like, and then I started realizing most of the history and stuff they're teaching us is just false and lies. So it was a big awakening for sure. But that's where I started with it. Where did you first learn about the pyramids?
Well, it's interesting because I went down the child trafficking rabbit hole, and people can
Okay.
listen to my story about that. For those that haven't heard about me, I sort of started the child trafficking stuff watching a Jeffrey Epstein doco, reconnected with an old buddy of mine that sent me down Australia's hole, which is filled with a lot of stuff like that here as well in our own backyard. For those listening in Australia, we aren't immune to the child trafficking. We're one of the main, one of the big players in it, actually. Just the stuff I learned about that. Maybe we can do a podcast on that one day. But in terms of the ancient Egypt stuff, well, I sort of went down that hole when I started rediscovering my spiritual stuff, when I started doing past life regressions, quantum healing sessions. That sort of opened the door to the pyramid stuff, because during one of my healing sessions, I went back to a past life where I was an Egyptian pharaoh. And I only did this last year in March with a buddy of mine that one day we'll share the story from his point of view. But from where we're laying on a table together on this in our friend's living room floor, and we went back to this Egyptian life that we lived together, where we were both pharaohs, right? And we had this. I've said it in a like a non-disclosure. So whatever you want to call it back then, who knows what it is? We saw it as a non-disclosure. Like thousands of pharaohs signed it, bro. Like hundreds and thousands of us signed this NDA that the pyramids were going to be turned off to a negative frequency, and the energy was not going to be used for good, because back then the energy was being used for good. It was heaven on earth down here, bro. 25,000 years ago when this started, it was sunshine and rainbows. It was the pyramids were healing the planet. The planet was where it should be. But then this, Jason calls it the death cult. The cult comes in, that that with the darkness, that's what exists here in terms of the energy. They came in and said, we're doing this, we're going to do it this way. It's good, it's great, it's safe and effective, and all those sort of things that they say now, that they said back then. And we sort of just thought, oh yeah, this is fine. And then we go back into that session and we delve into that, and I remember what all the hell this happened, and it was really traumatic, man, because we signed that thinking that they were doing good, but then we learn over the last 25,000 years they did the opposite of good. And then we learn about what really goes on underneath the pyramid in terms of energy, like all the abuse and all the child trafficking stuff happens underneath those pyramids. There's an underground society that exists. There's plenty of podcasts, plenty of information out there about this society that exists underground, but it's under the pyramids where the energy changed. It's when they do these rituals, these abuses, and they funnel all this stuff underneath the pyramids. It sends out the frequency and the energy and the vibration that changes the frequency and the vibration of the entire planet as a collective. So what goes on underneath those pyramids is darkness. That's what's presented out here now. And that's how they changed the energy, because there was nothing going on underneath those pyramids thousands of years ago. There was gold and all sorts of stuff under there. The energy was right. There were, the pharaohs, we all knew how to use them and how to get that energy from underneath there out into the general population back then. But when this cult came in and they changed it all, that's when all the abuse stuff started. That's when all this sort of started kicking off in the last 25,000 years. That's what I remembered. And I remembered that laying on a mate's living room floor, and I'm like, wow, like I contributed to this, and dealing with the fact that, 25,000 years ago when all this started, I was like, I contributed to this. Like, I did this, but it wasn't just me. It was a group of us. And it's interesting because I was crying during that, the guilt of it all. But then it's like, well, we learn what we're going to do in the future, and we're going to change this place. We're going to change the frequency, change the vibration. Well, it starts at the pyramids. If those pyramids were turned off, well, if the energy and stuff and it was all cleaned out, then those pyramids, Tanner, I shit you not, they can heal this planet. Mm-hmm. And it's just in terms of a vibration frequency thing that if those pyramids were working as designed, then like this whole universe changes because everyone like it will remove everyone's darkness in a sense. But these pyramids energetically can heal this planet. That's what I've learned just from that one. But then I've delved into so many other past lives too, where we can go on with the stories. I've got heaps of them, but that was the main one. And then I'm like, okay, so if these pyramids can heal the planet, what was I told during school about them? Well, there's no way our culture built them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as you said, there's no way us humans built them. We didn't. Like, it's written about. They're other beings that were here, giants and all sorts of things. They built them. You know, a bit stronger than us, a bit taller than us. Because as those pyramids, as the energy and the frequency kept going, our evolution changed. We were giants, mate. And then as it's all kept going, we've gotten weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker to where we are now over the 25,000 years. And that's the cycle that we're on. And it's coming, and came to an end in 2020, that 25,000 year cycle. And this whole planet's changing. Those pyramids are going to change. There's some interesting things in the future that's going to happen in terms of that, which I've learned, which one day I will share. But yeah, I don't know where to go from here, Tanner, but those pyramids, man, from what I've learned and remembered from my soul, they can change and heal this planet. And that's pretty bloody powerful.
Yeah. That's a powerful story. I don't think I've never heard that story from you, but
no, I've never really shared it until
sure.
only a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I've done like I never heard about like the underground society and like that happening back 25,000 years ago. But I did like I've done a lot of like research into like the energetics from the pyramids and how they can like resonate energy and frequencies.
Yeah.
And
So
like,
if you think about it on an energetic level, if they're doing all this stuff underneath the pyramids that's darkness,
definitely.
then on an energy level, you can see how this is all played out. It's from the pyramids, bro.
Definitely.
And
I can see
given
that.
how there's this underground society, I'll just quickly share how I learned about that. Well, when I went down the child trafficking rabbit hole, it sort of led me to this. And it's like, well, that underground society, this is where these kids go and they get, you know, they go underground. It's like, well, what's really underground? Then you listen to victim stories and people talk about it, and then you learn through testimonies and stuff. And then it's like, well, it all leads back to the pyramids. Because when you look at the maps of this society, which I've actually looked at through some connections I have, they lead to the pyramids and to other energetic places on this planet. If you look at the work of Rachel Vaughan's one person, look at the work of my mate Dale Holmes, you'll see they all lead to different places here on Earth on an energetic level. They're like, what are they called? They're portals, right? And that frequency, what goes underneath that significant energy place is is how all this is done on an energetic vibrational level. Places like Statue of Liberty, places like the Catholic Church in Rome, all these places, mate, in what goes on underground is an energetic thing, and it all leads to these landmarks. That's what I was looking for, landmarks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not portals, they're what's the word I'm looking for? It's coming to me. But as we go, like this whole thing underground it's all on an energetic vibrational level, and it's how above ground, like if that frequency and that energy's what it is, then that's what plays out here on Earth. And it's like, well, if we can change all of that to, love and the higher frequencies, then that changes the whole planet. And yeah, it's just interesting. Trying to find the word I'm looking for.
I mean,
there's a word for them.
I've definitely heard of like some like underground like tunnels and stuff. I haven't heard anything about on like the pyramids. I definitely heard about underground tunnels like all over the world, like under
they lead to
places.
the pyramids.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Also, I feel like another hot spot would be Antarctica. You're not allowed to go there. It's very yeah, exactly, right. I mean, I'm not sure if you we'll touch on this in a second, but I want to touch back on the pyramid stuff. So
I've got the word ley lines.
Oh,
They're
ley
key
lines, yeah.
energetic
Mhm.
ley lines.
Yep, ley
And the
lines.
key energetic ley line, for those that want to learn about it, one key energetic ley line is the Catholic Church in Rome. So there's one place you can go and have a look at.
I've been there.
There we go. I got there.
I've been the Vatican you're talking about?
Yeah, I've been
I
there too.
Yep. I was there, yeah.
Interesting.
Mm,
So yeah,
yeah.
key energetic ley lines, and they're all over the planet. And you'll notice when you look at the ley lines of the whole planet, they build different landmarks on these key energetic
Oh
ley
yeah.
lines. It's all a frequency and energy thing.
Mhm. I mean,
Like you look at the work of Nikola Tesla in terms of free energy. That guy was that's what
mhm.
they have that knowledge.
Oh yeah. Free energy
Yeah.
is definitely a thing. I've looked a lot into that as well. Like
Yeah.
it's
Same.
interesting, like Nikola Tesla, they like confiscated all his research and in the name of national security.
Mm.
Makes you wonder what they were hiding. But like energy, like that totally resonates with me. You know how much I've talked about energy in like our past podcasts with like quantum physics and all that going on. And maybe I'll talk about it real quick just because I think a lot of people like to hear from the scientific side of things too. Um, like we know everything is made up of atoms, right? Everything, you, me, this computer screen. But with when we started going to quantum physics, we started realizing there's things that are smaller than the atoms, not just the protons, not neutrons, electrons. There's actually quantum particles that make these things up. And these quantum particles are really just energy, like a little energy vortex is what they are. So really what that means is that everything is made up of energy. So if there is some kind of frequency coming from these pyramids, and I'm a big believer that there would be, there's been a lot of studies done on like showing how much frequency is coming off, and if you bounce sound at it, it amplifies the sound back. Um, that's going to affect all of us, right? Just think about how much words can affect you. Just think about how much, if you like walk into a room and there's some negative, like something happened that like someone died and you can feel like you walk in that room, like, oh shit, something happened here, right? Same thing as like if you got like something really exciting, you walk in the room, like you walk into a party, you're like, yeah, like it's bouncing, right? You feel that energy, you feel that energetic vibe. So that is what we're talking about here, but on a massive level where it's
Mm.
covering the whole world. And a great place to look if you guys want to learn more about that is The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. He's has some really good he's a cell biologist and he studied a lot of actually quantum physics, which he thought he would never do. But he's actually like merges those two worlds together and like talks about how energy actually influences our bodies. So I could even see how like that negative energy has made us weaker and smaller. I've heard there's giants before, but I don't know too much about it honestly. I've seen some things online, but it's hard to know what to believe nowadays and what not to
Yeah.
believe because they've kind of clouded that, right, with so
But
much
if we're talking about
lies.
beings and different
Uh-huh.
aliens and stuff, it's like,
Yep.
well, they built that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you look at even if you
Mhm.
go to Egypt and you go to even like the places of Rome, like out the front of these places, they're not humans out the front, those statues.
Yep.
They're like ancient beings, mate. That's who built them.
Yeah. I mean, you just look at some of the stuff. It's like the pyramids. Like they've even talked about how like they're not able to replicate anything close to the pyramids today. With you,
No.
even with like laser cutting and like heavy machinery. Like when they like try to just fix some of the stuff that was like built like from ancient times. Like they're like I've seen like tractors like flip over and like big heavy machinery just flip over because it can't handle the weight. How
No.
could a bunch of slaves with like rocks and like stones roll that stuff? It's not it's just ridiculous to think that that would have happened. And like
Mm.
they're actually a really good channel where I learned a lot of this information from, like where he like actually went in and like disproved a lot of this, like the methods for like how they built the pyramids was a bright insight. I'll put the link down below so you guys can check it out as well. He has some pretty cool stuff. His name's Jimmy. He's been to the pyramids a lot. Also, something I noticed too, which kind of goes into like the tunnels, underground tunnels, on the Sphinx, on the top of the Sphinx, on the back part of it, there's actually a trap door that has a ladder that goes down, and they won't let anyone go down there. They say it's a dead end, but no one really believes them. And makes sense that hey, that's probably going down to the tunnels as well down there, you know?
Mm.
So,
Yes. We all like you can research some of these
mm,
names that I've
yep.
mentioned and they talk about what goes on under
Yep.
there and it just makes sense in terms of an energy and frequency perspective, you know, if
Yep.
they're doing those things and that's channeling that energy through the ley lines and the different things, and that comes out into humanity. Well, that's what's going on right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of darkness. But like you said, I think there is definitely like there's a notice, like there's a shift happening.
There is huge.
Whatever is happening, I definitely notice there's a lot more people waking up, a lot more
Yep.
people like you know, I think you and me had talked about this on previous podcasts. Like some of the people we work with have like such fast switches and changes
Oh,
moving forward.
mm.
It's pretty amazing to see it. I think even you and me had a pretty fast change, like relatively compared to like even just 10 years ago before like we started doing the things, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's
this
more
an
than it's
explosion.
more of a great quickening than a great
Yep.
awakening. I see it as it's a
Yep.
quickening. Like these journeys can happen so fast once you remember and rediscover your soul and remember why, who, and why, and what you are and why you're here. Like once you remember that, like the world's your oyster. Like the door will open and boom.
Yep. So they're keeping a lot of this hidden from us to disempower us, make it so we don't know where our true origins come from,
Yeah.
the true history, right? If you keep people in the dark about how powerful they used to be, about like their origins, about what's really going on this planet, then it's much easier to control them, much easier to manipulate them, much easier to keep, you know, yourself in dominance and control. And that's what we've been seeing, right? I think even now, I think now we're starting to see it like they're getting sloppy because they're getting scared that they're about to lose it, right? Like
Hmm.
they become so obvious nowadays. Like it
Mother
was,
Earth on an Mother Earth on an energetic level is shedding the negativity, the darkness, what do you want to call it on a that sort of level. Well, it's like if we're connected to Earth and we're shedding ours too. I've often said that, but it's not only she's not only shedding that, she's like shedding the stuff that's been going on here for such a long, long time, you know. And I talk about it like this all happens in 25,000 year cycles. That 25,000 year cycle finished 2020. There's no coincidence that 2020 happened because we're going into the next step part of this, which is they call it the golden age, the golden times. That it's in ancient scriptures. It's in the Sumerian tablets. It's in all sorts of scriptures. It's actually in the original Bible that's been hijacked. That this is where we're heading to the golden times. Well, we got to get through all that darkness first, and it's going to take time because there's a lot of darkness that's happened here in 25,000 years.
yep,
So that's what's sort of that's the shift we're heading in. We're heading from the darkness, from the 25,000 year darkness cycle into the light. And all that darkness is being exposed slowly.
yep. Yeah, it's I totally agree. And I like what you said about like Mother Earth and that like it makes me think about like how you talked about how like the pyramids, if there was no negative frequencies there, would have the healing frequencies, right? Like I just think about like, going out and grounding and getting that like the earth
Yeah.
frequency into your like it's
Connect
the
to
same
Earth.
thing, right? Like it's essentially
Mm.
the pyramids are pulling the energy from the earth and sending it out to everyone, which has been
Yeah.
blocked out. Like it's been blocked out. It has the negative frequencies. Not only that, but the EMFs everywhere, right? Like we're kind of getting assaulted by negative frequencies all over all over the
Well,
planet.
yeah. And it's interesting, Tanner, because when you really delve into the pyramids, right, they're not just in Egypt, there's pyramids everywhere, like everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're underground, they're under the ocean, they're everywhere, bro. So if you look at this underground society, yeah, I'm talking about the ocean. There's a reason why they tell you that what is it, like 60% of the ocean hasn't been discovered yet.
Yep.
Oh, it's been discovered. They fucking know
Mhm.
that what goes on, what's underneath the ocean as well. There's pyramids under there as well, and that's all that stuff. It's like, well, they say 60, what is it, 80% of the ocean has been discovered yet.
Mhm.
And then they tell you that, oh, they don't know what's on the other side of the moon, and then they tell you they
Yeah.
don't know what's going on in Antarctica. Well,
Oh yeah.
they know.
Hmm.
And they're
Yeah.
telling you they haven't discovered it yet. They've
Hmm.
discovered it and they're not telling you.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen a lot of things about the ancient side of the moon, and you also mentioned like Sumeria, the
Yeah.
Sumerians.
David Icke does. If
Yeah.
everyone's on their journey
Uh-huh.
learning about this stuff, read David Icke's book, The Biggest Secret.
Yep.
he talks a lot about the Sumerian tablets, and
Mhm.
then at the end of the story, he talks a lot about the killing of Diana as well, which is an interesting read too. But if you want to read about the biggest secret, then read that book. He
Yeah, this
actually talks a lot. He actually has went to some, like, got the tablets off a philosopher, and yeah, wrote a book based on what's been going on. And this was like 25 years ago, man. So that book is like prophecy now.
oh
It's
yeah.
all happened.
Those Sumerian tablets are crazy. I remember looking into them and it was just like, whoa, that's a
Yeah.
lot. And like that's where I was like talking about like the very beginning of the podcast, like the carvings and stuff, like carvings of like the planets and stuff like that. Like ancient civilizations knew that there was this many planets before we even did. They had like there's so many like carvings of like
They're
spaceships
just
or
mm.
UFOs or things like that. And it's like,
They tell you that it's
yeah.
that space is like
Mhm.
an atmosphere thing and it's above the sky. Well, that's a lie too. Space is like another dimension. You're just going somewhere else. It's another realm. Like Earth is a realm. This is just one realm. There's many realms, many dimensions. Space is not above you, and space is not below you. Space is just outside of this realm that we're in right now.
Hmm. Interesting.
Because I've had it come to me and I've seen it. So we're gonna go woo woo again. You know how the Simpsons movie they had the dome over Springfield?
Yeah.
Well, there's a dome over Earth too, but it's also below us as well. And it's not like a physical dome that we can all see. It's an energetic dome. And it's like, if you look at the movie The Matrix, Tanner,
Yeah.
we break free from that matrix. Well, then that helps. Like, you know how they got the dome off of Springfield? Well, it's the same thing, the people power, right? Well, if we all came together and remembered who and what we are, which is what's happening, that dome's lifted. And they say, as above, so below. That dome is below us and it's above us. And that dome's being lifted because the more people that awaken and remember who and what they are and why they're here, lifts that dome. And when I talk about the souls that are born after 2000, we're helping lift the dome for those souls because they already know. Like, I've had that many clients come to me that were born after 2000 where they know shit.
Interesting.
And when they remember too, mate, that dome's lifted. It's lifting now. That's why things are happening fast, because once we remember, that's powerful energy, Tanner, because that lifts that dome. Once that dome's lifted, then we can sort of see what this place really is and why we're really here. Because we all didn't just come here by chance. We all chose to be here. And we all chose to live through this current period to get to the other side. Well, the other side's the golden age. We chose to be here. We all chose this experience on a soul level. And when you look at the soul journey over the last 25,000 years, we were here back then. We've come here to learn these lessons on a 25,000 year cycle. It's called the reincarnation cycle. We've been here many times in the last 25,000 years. They know that. You don't know that, but you know now because I'm telling you that we've, over the last 25,000, that's why these past life things, like our subconscious is so powerful. You think of it like my glasses box here. That subconscious mind's like, that remembers the ancient times when we're here too. It remembers everything. That's how I remembered the past life I had as a pharaoh. Went back into this part of the mind that's super powerful. It's a supercomputer. It's downloaded every life we've ever had here, every life we've ever had ever, on a soul level. That's how powerful that part of the mind is. And it's unpacking that. And if you want to unpack it, then when the time is right, you will. But as I was saying, the 25,000 year reincarnation cycle, that cycle's ended. So all those souls that were here back then are here again now to usher in this golden age. We were here back then and we're here now. There's obviously new souls that have come in and stuff, but these older ones, the ones that have awoken first, we were here, but we've been here before. We've done this before many times. It's just that it's being done right this time. Well, we hope so.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And I mean, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm I'm actually a big believer that we choose to be here too. It reminds
Mm-hmm.
me of hearing a story of like a father and a son talking, and the father says like, "Oh, I'm so lucky that you came in my life," and he's like, I
Chosen.
chose I chose to be here. Chose you guys as my parents. And he was just like, what? He's like, yeah, I chose you guys as my parents.
Hmm.
And that makes me think like, yeah, I did choose here. I did choose to come at this time to live through this moment. And it is like a fantastic time to be alive. There might be a lot of like, there's a lot of negativity and fear mongering going on, but really, realistically, there is a lot of good things happening. We're seeing
Hmm.
more explosion of information, of people remembering who they are, remembering,
It's the
and
hero's journey.
yep, coming to realize that, hey, we have been lied to, and things are starting to become more up to the surface, and the light is shining on all the darkness.
And we're following the hero's journey blueprint. Like when you start this just self-discovery journey, you start following the hero's journey blueprint. You start having distractions. You start having all these things that are blocking you from remembering who and what you are. This is why the porn's here, the alcohol, the smoking, the drinking, the da 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 da. They're all like roadblocks on that path towards your best self. That path towards your best self's the hero's journey. You're walking the hero's journey. Because on the other side of that, like if you look at every move that's ever been made, they follow the same blueprint. Look at Happy Gilmore. When he almost gets to when he was about to win that open against that shooter guy, what happens? The tower falls over. We're at that the humanity right now is at that tower period. The tower's fallen over. And it's like, how do we navigate the rest of this journey to get to the hole? Because he hits the ball through and it goes up and around the tower. Have you seen Happy Gilmore?
Yeah, I
Goes
have.
up and around the tower and shoots out and goes in the hole. That's the hero's journey blueprint. We're all walking that blueprint right now. It's just that in 2020 the tower fell over. We're almost there, and then COVID happened. That was the tower moment. So how do we now navigate to get to that hole? Well, then porn amplifies, the drinking amplifies, the smoking amplifies. All this stuff is put here to stop you from getting to the hole. We get to that hole and you remember who and what you are, and you start unpacking your past life, start unpacking your soul journey, you start unpacking your traumas, your triggers, all these things. It's the hero's journey blueprint. We're all walking the same blueprint. Then you want to get religious. You talk about the Jesus thing. Then everyone's talking about the second coming of Jesus. It's the same story. It's the hero's blueprint, the hero's journey. Just that they did it with religion, that they say that this figure is going to come back and save the day. That figure is not coming back and saving the day. It's you. It's us. It's me. It's you. It's everyone. We're all tapping into that consciousness. It's a consciousness. It's not a being. It's not a human. It's nothing. It's us. It's remembering who and what we are. We tap into that consciousness. We walk that blueprint. Jesus isn't coming back, if any Christians listening. We're coming back because we're coming back to our heart and our soul. We come back to our heart and soul. That's the Christ consciousness. We're the second coming. Humanity right now, we are the second coming. That's our power. And we remember who and what we are. Well, when I say that, we remember that we're a soul having a human experience. And our souls come here many, many times, and we can learn all those things if you really, really want to, but we can walk the path. You want to walk the path of the hero's journey blueprint. That's our blueprint. That's just what's come to me.
Yeah, definitely. I think the hero's journey is very important. And like you said, like removing those vices, like the porn, the alcohol,
They're
the weed.
literally like little
Yeah.
roadblocks on that
Mhm.
journey, aren't they? It's like the
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz thing again. It's like she nearly gets to the thing and then he sees the wizard in the, what is it? The thing in the witch in the, like, it's like the witch in the house
Mhm.
and the feet are hanging out underneath the house. It's the same blueprint as Happy Gilmore. She's walking the yellow brick road path and she has all these roadblocks getting towards the end. It's the same story. We're living that actual story right now. It's just that our tower's fallen over. If you want to learn the Happy Gilmore thing, we're literally walking that path now.
Yeah.
And then the universe gives you all these little breadcrumbs when you're on the journey, right? So people like Tanner come into my field, and moments like the quantum healings and stuff I've been talking about before come into the journey. Then you start walking that hero's journey blueprint. Well, then you turn your back on those other roadblocks. Then you get awesome people, awesome moments, synchronicity start happening because you're on the path then. But then you might get to a roadblock. You get to a point in your life where you get a bit emotional, and then it's like you get to a certain point in the journey, and then you might feel a bit stressed, sad, lonely, or something, and an emotion might be coming up, might be remembering something from your childhood or whatever, and then you go back into those vices. But once you come out the other side again, then you're back on the path, and synchronicity start happening. It's the same thing. We're all walking a path towards something special. And if we can remember at a soul level that we're just a soul having a human experience, and we exist beyond this meat suit, my God, we can change the world. And we're already doing it. It's already happening.
Yeah. I feel like there's a
we
lot
are
that's
our own
changed.
savior, Tanner. We're all walking that Christ path.
I mean, I'm a big believer, like I'm not really religious, like super religious, but I'm a big believer that, we all have that ability to create
Yes.
just from the
Same
fact
way
of like,
Jesus did.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, everything's energy, right? Like if we were like, if we all go from like a religious perspective, if we were created in God's image, that means we have some of his power within inside ourselves, right? And we can
100%.
create. We can create. Like we need to stop like there's a lot of like things that are like really bug me too, like the circumcision of young boys, like mutilation, like all these things are dark acts, right? Like if we were creating God's image and God created us, how come in the name of God you're going to be cutting off a little boy's penis? Like I don't know I'm sorry, that's kind of maybe off topic, but like this is more
Yeah,
to
it's
like the
true.
energetic stuff, right? Like it's another thing like that people have been conned into believing is part of like, oh, it's the way things go, and that's the way they want things.
It's interesting because you can relate it to everything.
Mhm.
God gave you fresh water in rivers and lakes and
Yeah.
oceans.
Mhm.
They give you fluoride tap water.
Yeah.
God gave you apples, bananas, oranges, mangoes, nuts, seeds in nature. They give you your supermarkets, your Costco's or your Walmarts, and if you're in Australia, Woolworths and Coles, which is fake sprayed food
Mhm.
made man. Or they give you the chips and the Doritos, and that's not nature's food.
Yep.
That's artificial. That's not made by God. That's made in a
God,
factory
yeah.
full of poisonous. It's poison, right?
Yep. God
God
gives
give
you
you
genuine connection, but we got the porn instead.
100%.
Yeah.
God gave you the Adam and Eve story, right? I don't know whether that's true or not either, but and then you get porn. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else is there? There's so many. Like there's
Yep.
so many.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's
It's like where do you go from here, Tanner? Like
I mean, the only way you can go is to start to realize that, hey, no one else can control me. I'm in charge of myself, and I got myself to this exact same spot. There may be some influences that helped get me here, but you're the one who got yourself into this spot in your life if you're like
yeah.
unhappy with it or you're feeling frustrated with it. And once you realize that you are able to one to can change that, we can start to change this world together. Right? Like
And we're walking universes. How they say, like if see, I'm just going to go really deep here. There's a universe that exists outside of us, which they control, but there's also a universe that exists inside of us too.
yeah.
So if you think about that if they can control the narrative that you see in their universe, which is the metaverse, which is why Facebook's now called Meta, go down that rabbit hole. They're creating a different, well, God gave you the universe, right? God gave you your own vessel, your own body that can create. So what did they give you? They give you the job, the resumes, the cover letters, the slave system. You can do all this yourself. You can create. But this is what the school system is, right? You go to school and you build someone else's dreams instead of your own. God gave each of us like we all signed a soul contract to be here, to remember what we're here to do. Well, they give you the school system to not actually remember why you're here. They give you the school system to build someone else's dreams. So you never actually remember why, what, and why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
If you can jump off that cycle and remember who you are, why you're here, and what you're doing, and you start walking the path of God, you are your own God. We're all compressed fractals of God. Our souls, we remember that, then we can do some cool shit. And that cool shit's changing the world. But you all remember, like, I know why I'm here. I know who I am. And I can talk about that if you want. But we can all remember this too. And it's like that system that they created, which is man, that's not God's system. God's system is your soul. Remember who and what you are and why you're here. And that's what you're here to do. You're not here to be working a 9 to 5 job, eating the junk food, drinking the alcohol. You weren't meant to be here to do that. You aren't here to sit there and watch porn and jack it off into the sheets every day. That's not what you're put here to do. You're put here to lead, build, and create. You're put here to remember who and what you are on a soul level. You're put here to walk the path of the hero's journey to get to the other side, to live and fulfill your soul's purpose. That's why you're here. You weren't here to do any of this other shit. It's all put here to stop you, to not remember who and what you are. It's a massive challenge that we all must step through and out into. Society programs you not to rise up and speak your truth. You get told to play it small and be mediocre. Guess what? You didn't come here to play it small and be mediocre either. Like, you know how it's like what Paul was saying in our round table. Your soul was like drawn to the pyramids, almost like a past life thing, Tanner. Like you were drawn to the pyramids, like I was drawn to the child trafficking. It's like my soul wanted to learn that. So I learnt it, and you learnt it too. It's like, maybe that's what we're here to do. Maybe I'm here to help, which I do. I work with kids every single day. I'm here to help them. Just my energy helps them. It's like, well, what's Tanner here to do? Well, Tanner here to fix some pyramids? I think he might be.
Yeah, I already got my flight booked. I'm heading out there next month, actually.
Yeah, good. You're gonna fix them for us, Tanner.
No, I've actually wanted to go eventually go have like a flight down there and
Not
check
the
them
only
out.
one.
I've been to some pyramids and I've been to Chichen Itza.
Yep.
And I've also been to Tulum, in both of Mexico. So I climbed to the top of one of them. They won't let you go into some of them, but I did climb to the top of them, and they're pretty amazing. Like they're not even nearly close to the size of the one, like the Great Pyramids, but like they are still like, wow, someone built this. That's amazing, right? So it's
like,
powerful.
Yeah. And I love it how we were talking about all the God versus man-made stuff. It goes so deep.
Yeah, it really does touch all aspects of it. And like, if anyone is looking at trying to just like waking up or like, start moving forward, remember that it's not about perfection. Like Nathan has talked about, you may end up going down back to your vices, but you can come back and you come back stronger. And then you can remember.
Yeah.
I recommend if you do step away from your vices and you go back, really take notice of how you feel when you go back, because you'll notice that, hey, I felt like shit, right? Like I felt way off. I felt clouded. When
Probably
you go
a good
back to it.
segue into another conversation we can have here. It's like, when you learn all this stuff during your awakening, how did it make you feel learning all this stuff that like what you were programmed to believe is all a lie?
I mean,
Like,
I
how
was
did
pretty
that make you
upset.
feel? Yeah.
I was pretty frustrated, and I was kind of like, what the fuck? Everyone, like everyone is just like I had like watched the Matrix. I was a big fan of the Matrix at the time, and I was like, this is the Matrix. Like, there's so many people who literally either have no idea what the hell's going on, or they don't care. Like,
or they know what's going on and choose to ignore it.
exactly, like that one guy like who killed Tank's brother or whatever in the Matrix, right?
Yes.
And it's like he's like, I'd rather eat the steak, the fake steak, because it tastes good.
Yep.
Right? Like that's really what it like. It was like shocking to me to be like, everything I knew was a lie. Like even now to this day, like I'm more and more just like, I don't even want any part of this system that they have made. I don't want any part of the healthcare system.
It's not God's system.
I don't want any part of the food system they made. I don't want any part of the water system they made. I don't want any part of. I want to go completely off grid. I want to have my own garden. I want to have my own, water. I want to have my own life away from all that crap. That's really what I don't want to have. A working 9 to 5 job building someone else's dream. I want to build my own dream, and that's what I've been working at doing. I mean, how did you feel when you woke up to it? Were you pretty shocked?
Well, mine was brutal, man, because I just watched that Jeffrey Epstein doc and I
Oh yeah.
learned that some of the people that are on this planet do some pretty sick stuff to children.
Yeah.
So learning about that was far out. That heightened my self-sabotage for a long time too. And then sort of delving into the rest of the lies, well, then you sort of learn about that. And then you're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, what else are they hiding from us? And then you just go into each layer and layer and layer, and you strip that layer back. Then once that worldly layers being stripped back, that's when people get to their crossroads, Tanner, because they learn all these things about the world around them, right?
Mhm.
Takes a lot of balls and a lot of courage to then go within and learn your own.
Yep.
And then I have this moment where I'm sitting on this table talking to three young girls, and I hit the ground. I fall through the table. That was my time to go within and learn my own truths.
Mhm.
That was the universe's God, spirit, source, whatever you want to call it, its way of saying, hitting that table, what needed to wake me up to my own truths. So what I was doing, the person I was being, like, it was time for me to go within and learn my own truths, to then learn what I needed to learn, to then grow forward and then put myself out there. You know, the Great Awakening, it's awesome, Tanner. There's so many people that are so aware of what's going on, but as soon as you mention something about an emotion or something to do within, like a inner truth, then they don't want anything to do with it. They'd rather just wait for the savior to come and save them.
Yep.
It's like you can save yourself, but you got to go within and listen to your heart.
That's true.
And there's so many people out there that are so aware of what's going on around them, but they're not aware of what's going on internally.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of awakened souls out there, which is great. It's so good. But they're still drinking the alcohol and watching the porn and drinking the wine and carrying on like it's nothing. Not doing there's doing the work, which is learning the truth, but then it's doing the inner work and learning your own truths.
Which I feel like is by design, right? Like
$100%.
we were never taught how to look inside. We were never
No,
taught to do any of that, like, oh, deal with emotions. Yeah, right. We're not taught how to deal with that. We're not taught how to
no.
go inwards or
A kid
sit
feels
with your
angry at school
thoughts.
now, they get punished.
Yeah,
A kid isn't even
exactly.
allowed to feel angry. Kid gets angry now, starts trashing shit because they're so angry. It gets like suspended or whatever, and then they're told, "Don't feel this way. Don't."
Oh yeah.
It's
It's
let the kid
actually
be angry.
makes me think of something we do with my son. So a lot of people, when like their kid starts crying, they say, "You're okay." And we don't say that. We say, "How are you feeling right now?" Because we want him to be able to feel how he feels, right? Saying that
100%.
he's okay is pretty much saying that, hey, you like, what if he's not okay? You know, what if he's
Mm,
not okay? What if he's feeling frustrated? What if he's upset? What if he's crying? Like he's crying for a reason. So you can't just like negate all his feelings and just say you're okay. But yet that's what is common in our society to say, oh, you're okay. Stop crying. You know? They're crying for a reason. Are you gonna be there for your kid and allow them to feel their feelings? Like
mm,
a lot of people get uncomfortable with that because they were never allowed to do that when they were adults, and that's something I've had to learn as well. But as I've started doing, I've started noticing a big change in myself, and
mm.
it's like one of those things that are just like it's interesting because like it's not even just like the things that we're doing, it's the things that we're saying, right? It's not like that's one small example, but like there's so many times when like they're disempowering us on all levels with like the English language, right? Like
Yeah,
the ancient
spellcasting.
word magic and all that. Like we could probably go a whole nother podcast into
That's
that,
a whole
but
nother podcast.
yeah, like it's just like there is so much to unpack, and really like if everyone's like, oh, there's way too much to learn, there's too much, like just start someplace and start learning it. I promise as you start to learn the stuff, it may be shocking, but you're gonna want to continue learning. Like I know like when I started looking into it, I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit. Then I started looking into health and like the food stuff. I think I found Paul Check and I was like,
Mm.
boom. Like a whole
Yeah.
nother thing blew up. Then I was like, okay, if the whole health industry and they're feeding us complete garbage, what's the medical industry? Like start looking at big pharma and that stuff. Boom. Like it just like shatters. Like it's almost like there was like these like I don't know, like computer screens or something like that were showing you an image of what you thought it was. And once that shatters, you can actually see what's behind it and you realize
Belief systems. Yeah.
that's the actual reality. Like it just shatters that perspective of yours, and you start to realize this is actually what this perspective is.
If you want to walk this path and you choose to walk this path, then be prepared to have every single belief system that you've ever had since you were in the womb shatter. Because everything is a lie. And when you think you know something, and something else comes in, and there's another thing, you know, everything.
I feel like there's so much we don't even know about the pyramids, about like all that, right? There's so much that's been hidden from us that it's just impossible to know.
Think of it as like this. Think of it as like this, right? We only know like that little corner of my glasses case. Like we only know just a little speckle. That's
It's like
all
an
we know.
iceberg. You only know
Yeah.
about the tip. The whole massive part of the iceberg is underneath. We have no idea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But what this is all encouraging you to do, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's like you choose to walk this path and people say, oh, that's a really hard path to walk, unpacking all this stuff. Well, yeah, it can be a hard path to walk, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's your light. It's your best self. It's waiting on the other side. Because I know for me, when I was sifting through my own stuff, I always saw this version of me. I'm living him now. So I see another version now, but I saw this version of me 4 years ago. I saw him. I'm living that version now. So you can sift through all this stuff, but there's a version of you out there that's already doing that thing that you want to do. And I've had people say, oh, that's a really hard path to walk. Yeah, it was a hard path to walk, learning the truths of the world. That was a hard path to freaking walk. But I didn't feel like I was learning the truths of the world. I was remembering the truths of the world because I already knew them. On a soul level, I already knew this. And then people say, oh, well, that's a hard, yeah. Well, but it's like, here's a rebuttal. Isn't continuing to stay where you are, being mediocre, eating the junk food, watching the porn, drinking the alcohol, smoking, vaping, just isn't that is a harder path to walk, I feel. Because what does that path lead to? That path leads you to your worst self. That path leads you to being on that deathbed, living the life of regret, disease. Well, this path to enlightenment, to self-discovery, to remembering, to enlightenment, to empowerment, that's not going to lead to disease. That's not going to lead you to that last point. If you ever get to that point where you're on that deathbed, you're not going to be on that deathbed in that regret. Because you'll say, I did what I came here to do. See you later. I know you at the start of the whole journey, yeah, it's a hard path to walk. But at the end, you look back and go, shit, that was a lot easier path to walk than the other one I could have walked, where I'm laying there full of regret. I ate the junk food all my life. I had disease and discomfort. And then I'm in pain for all my life. That's a harder path to walk. If you're our age, I'm 29, you're 30. I'm 30 this year. If you're our age and you're walking that other path and you want the enlightenment, if you continue down the path you're going down, then you will end up where I just said you were. But if you decide to change paths, change direction towards enlightenment, self-discovery, learn the truths of the world, learning your own truths, it's going to be a tough 2 or 3 year battle. But there's a version of you that's already out there that's doing the thing that you came here to do. And I want to say it again. I was talking to this client of mine, Sunny, yesterday, right? She's already written a book. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to share some of it. She's already written a book. And she only did sessions with me last year in August. Book's already written. It's like that. That's how quick our journeys can be. That's how quick they can be. And people say, oh, yeah, you're in a 3 or 4 year. It can be quicker than that. It can be like 12 months. And then you've done, maybe you started that podcast, or you've sang that song, or you've done something. It's like you shifted all those negative belief systems that you've had on the world and yourself. Then you step into that path of greatness. You step onto that path of the best self that you may have thought was 3 or 4 years away. It might only be about 12 months away. Like, this awakening's a quickening, and it's so fast. It's a fast journey now. It won't take you that long. it depends, you know, there's so
Yeah.
many layers to it, but yeah, it's more of a quickening now.
I feel like even like if I look back when I first started to like a year after, I had a big change in my life too, you know? Like it was like I look and I see like, oh, my health like drastically increased. I may not have been like exactly where I am now.
Oh,
Oh, but you know, I've come a long way for sure. And you know, I'm a big believer that it's like just like it's about progress, like not perfection, right? There's gonna be
mm,
different stages of your awakening. There's gonna be different stages of you increasing your health, but like just start someplace. Like you don't have to do everything all at once. Just
no,
start someplace. Start moving forward now.
well said.
You know, it's gonna be like really impactful to your life if you just start right now as soon as possible. And I want to touch base on like what you said with like the restrictive thing, because I've heard that a lot too. Like when I started eating healthier, like, oh, you're just like restrictive towards what you eat. Oh, you're
Oh, I've heard that
how
before.
do you even live like that? And it's like you're not putting poison into my body. I live actually really good without doing that. I feel really good. You know, like it's actually when you change your perspective to like, oh, I can't have this. To I'm choosing not to have that because I don't want to put that in my body. That's a much different verbiage, right?
Yeah, they see it as, oh, you're not allowed to have that. Well,
Yeah,
no, there's a choice, right?
yeah,
Yeah, you're right. There's a choice, and I choose not to
yeah,
eat Doritos every night.
yeah. It's like I could easily go buy myself a whiskey and Coke right now. I can easily go
Yeah,
buy, you know, some ice cream or go buy, you know, Mountain Dew or whatever it may be. But I'm choosing not to because I know how it affects my body, and I'd much rather be more aware, more have more energy, feel good, right? Like if I look back to where I was before I started all this, I had low energy. I was starting to get depression. I was feeling frustrated with my life, and it's changed drastically.
mm.
And you know, if I would continue down that path like you were talking about, I would probably be overweight right now. I'd
See
be
how that's a harder path to
yeah,
walk?
in a deep state of depression. I'd be feeling frustrated, and then I'd probably
Yeah,
be waking up to what's going on right now, and I'd be not. I wouldn't have the energy. I wouldn't have the mental capacity to deal with it. I think that's what's happening for a lot of people, where they've realized what's going on, but they just don't have the energy. They don't have the mental capacity because they haven't worked on themselves. So it's super
100%.
shocking, and then they're dealing with all the other shit that's going in their life, and it's too much. So they don't want to even go. They don't want to look inside themselves right now because it's going to be too much for them to handle, right? So if you
Yeah,
guys, yeah, well,
humanity's at that point waiting for a savior.
yeah, they're they're
Like,
they're
there's
looking
no
like, oh, someone's going to save us, like Trump or someone like that. And whether you believe in Trump
second
or
coming.
not, but like, no one can save you but yourself. That's what
Mm,
you got to realize. If you want to change something in your life, you need to change that. You can obviously go seek other people for help, for mentorship, for guidance, and that's what's changed my life very drastically. I know that's changed Nathan's life as well. But at the end of the day, I still had to put the work in. At the end of the day, I still had to be the one making the decisions. At the end of the day, I still had to be the one waking up to go work out. I still had to be the one deciding to purchase the good, healthy food at the grocery store or going to the farmer's market instead, right? Like I still had to be the
hmm.
one reading all the labels on the back of the foods and making sure I wasn't buying complete garbage.
Do that
Like
all the time.
no one else could do that for you.
No. And that's the thing. Like, you set the intention, right? You set the intention, and that's what we do. We set the intention to wake up every day and be better. And people are setting the intention to other stuff, but that's also an intention. You're setting an intention to go and drink that poison. You're choosing to do it. You can choose not to, but that would involve so many layers as to why you're being drawn to in the first place. Like, there's so many layers. Like, it's like, did your parents drink? What's our programming on alcohol? And then that goes back to the childhood, and then people don't want to unpack that, and that's fine. But people are at that it's like a choice now. And people are being shaken awake at the moment. These truths are really, really coming in. Start
Yeah.
listening to them. Start learning them. Start learning your own. Because the day that we all start walking the path of enlightenment and empowerment, that's when you know that the shift's here. The shift's here, but as soon as there's more people walking that path of enlightenment and self-discovery, that's when this place will change. Like, there's more to life than drinking alcohol. There's more to life than watching porn. There's more to life than going out to a nightclub and trying to find a hookup. There's more to life than all the things that have been put here for your entertainment.
Yep.
We didn't
More
come here
life
for
than
any
working
of
a
those
9-to-5 job for the rest
Yeah.
of your life.
We didn't come here for entertainment. We came here to remember who we are. That's when I mic dropped that.
Boom. I agree. I love it. Yeah, I think it's been a really good conversation. I think
Yeah, it has.
we might have got a little off track, but I think at the same time it's still
It's all
within the
energy.
track. Right. It's
Because
still,
if you look at it on
right.
an energetic level, to sum it up, well, that's why all this stuff's here on an energetic level, because of what's been done to the pyramids, mate. So if those pyramids will be shifted one day, once they are shifted, then none of that other stuff's going to be here, because it can't exist here on a planet that's in a different frequency, in a different vibration. That stuff, that energy can't sustain itself to be here. So things like the porn and all that stuff won't be here, because it can't exist on an energetic frequency level when that planet is. Did that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of
Because
frequency.
the beings that put this stuff here, you remove that darkness and remove those things, then it's not going to be here anyway.
Do you think like people are just going to lose the interest in it and they'll just disappear that way? Because
Well, yeah,
their
because there's more
frequency
and
has
more truth
shifted.
being exposed to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like, it's common knowledge now that every porn star is trafficked. Well, if you want to delve more into the trafficking, well, those porn stars were children once. So where do you think all this started? What I was talking about before, child trafficking. There you go. Everyone on that level knows that there's trafficking going on, human
Oh yeah.
trafficking. Well, if you want to go deeper into it, your elites are the ones that are doing it.
Oh yeah. To just look at Epstein. I mean, even like Epstein's just such a small part of it. It's been going on for
Oh,
much
it's
longer.
literally that much
Yeah.
on a
It's all
worldwide
over the
scale.
world. Yeah.
It is.
I mean,
And that's why the porn's here. That's why
yeah.
all this brothel stuff. And it's like, well, they control that. Same people that controlled the thing 4 years ago that everyone was scared of, they controlled that too. Same group of, I don't even think they're people. But anyway, that's just me. But it's why the alcohol's here. It's the same people again. We'll just revert to coffee, right? Bill Gates had such an interest in coffee. Why? Why did him and his old man reboot Starbucks? Why?
Yep.
And why did he have such an interest in the last 3 years?
Exactly.
There you go.
Yep.
It's like a dot, like a spider web, is to connect the dots.
Yeah, there's a lot of dots to connect for sure.
No, there
And
is,
like
yeah.
it goes pretty deep, but yeah, I agree. And yeah, I think overall this was a really good talk. So
Mm.
you want to, where should we leave it off? Or we just want to talk about like one thing that you recommend for people if they are in the awakening path?
Yeah, well, if you're starting the journey to betterment, to self-discovery, to learning the truths that exist in the world and within you, just remember that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's your light. And if you can envision that version of you that's doing something, I envision myself speaking like this and doing that stuff. So if you're envisioning that version of you, awesome. If you're envisioning a version of you that maybe there was a child there that wanted to be a singer or a dancer or a writer or something, that version of you exists. It exists. It exists beyond the programming. It exists beyond the emotions. It exists beyond everything. If you can see that version of you during this stuff, then you'll get there. And it's a matter of progression or perfection, as we always say. And these things will start happening to you. You'll start living, you'll start eating better, you'll start living, you'll start eating cleaner, you'll start going to the gym, you'll start doing these things as you progress through. Because knowledge is power, Tanner. We've done a podcast on that too. Knowledge is power. And it's just remembering who and what you are and why you're here.
I love it.
And you weren't put here just cause. You're put here for a reason, you're put here for a purpose. And it's a matter of remembering that.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I remember Jason always said, like in our sessions, like you were born like perfectly designed, and you just have to
Hmm.
remember it's there's nothing wrong with you. You just have to remember who you are, and that's something that I thought was really powerful for me, was remembering who I was and just shedding off. It's like essentially like you like when you're born, you had the you're perfectly designed, and then you had all these programs come down onto you, right? And so really what we're talking about is a remembering of who you are and shedding off these programs, finding out who you are again, and then living as that person who loves life, who is
Hmm.
authentically themselves once again. And it's a beautiful place to be. And remember, it may get daunting at times, it may feel frustrating at times, it may feel like no one else is listening to you or that you're the crazy one. But at the end of the day, you know deep down that it's the right thing to do. And remember, it's not about perfection. I want to say this again. It's about progression. It's about taking one step, focus on the things you can't control, and just take a step every single day towards that life that you want. And if you're finding yourself struggling there, ask for help. If I didn't ask for help, I would not be here where I was today. If I didn't reach out to learn from others who were farther ahead of me, I would probably not be at this spot. I would definitely not be on a podcast hosting podcasts if I didn't reach out for help, right? So, definitely, I'm a big proponent of working with someone else. You can learn so much from them. Surround yourself with people who you want to be like or who you want to learn from. That's why I'm really grateful to be, friends with Nathan. I feel like I learned so much every come on this podcast from you, and just it's always a great
Likewise.
experience. So, yeah, that's really what I recommend to anyone listening. And don't hesitate to reach out to us if you guys do want to talk to us, if you guys vibe with us. Definitely, we're here for you guys anytime you guys want to talk. So, leave us a comment, let you guys know, let us know what you guys think. Give us a like, share this around. Um, Shoot us a subscribe or a follow if on whatever platform you're watching this on. And we all hope you guys all have a good rest of your day or night.
Look after yourselves. Catch us later.